Hello, everybody, and welcome to this masterclass called Reignite Love and Connection. So, I'm Naidoo. I'm a life transformation and relationship coach. And I don't know whether to say this out loud or not, but come July, it's going to be 25 years. So, it's a long, long time. I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot. I've watched lots and lots of immense relationship transformations in that time. And my wish is that for everybody that is here today or gets to watch the recording of this, that you really get something of value from here. So I'm here to give from my expertise and what I've learned over the years. Um, so if you don't know me at all, I'm just trying to sort out my screen. I've got things popping up. Okay. Um, so over the years, the 25 years that I'm doing this, I've been interviewed on various radio stations around the topic of relationships. I've been interviewed on several magazines. I've written articles for some of these magazines and newspapers, and I have a YouTube channel as well. So for me, it is how can I use everything that I've learned over the last 25 years to really and truly make a difference in the lives of as many people as I can reach. Um, so who is this for? It's for couples who love each other, but feel that there's a sense of disconnection. Fortunately, that is about 90% of all couples. It might sound shocking, but a lot of the time I meet people and we start having a conversation, and on the outside, you think this is a really happy couple. They've really got it together. Because when it comes to social events, the family's getting together, it's a wedding, there's something going on. They pitch up together, they're reasonably happy, they look good together. It looks like life is functioning well. But when I sit down and start the conversation and we go into a really deep conversation, that's where I start to see where the cracks are, where the disconnect is, where um, sometimes the one person is constantly giving in, sometimes one person is too busy to commit to the relationship. So you start seeing that as we go deeper into conversations. So it's for you if you feel that you argue more than you'd like and you kind of struggle to resolve the conflict. So what that means is you have an argument about something, and then 6 months later you find you're having the same argument again. The same problem comes up again a year later. Now you know it's the same thing, but we're not actually resolving this. We're creating a pattern of conflict here. It's for you if you feel that you're unseen, that you're unheard, that maybe you're not quite appreciated for everything that you bring to the relationship. And again, this is the majority of couples, at least one person feels this way. You could be craving a deeper connection. So sometimes on the outside, again, it looks like things are going well because you've got your jobs, you're doing really well on the work front. And at home, you wonder, like, why is it that we talk about things like the weather, our day at work, and what's for dinner, and we're going to go shopping, and there's kids, and all of that. But we're not really having those deep, meaningful conversations. All right. You could be yearning for lasting peace. Um, or maybe you just know that there's more that's possible for your relationship and you're not quite touching those heights that it can actually reach. So there's something inside of you that's saying, there's more. There's something more. I might not know what it is, but there is something more. All right. So, what is the true purpose of relationships? Very often I ask this question, when I'm giving a talk somewhere and I say, what do you think is the purpose of relationships? And usually the kind of answers I get is, to share your life with someone, to grow old together, to have someone there to support you, to have someone there when you want to travel, to have a family, to have a home together, those kinds of things. And while all of those things are true for relationships, the true purpose of relationships is self-actualization. That means it's you coming into your fullest potential as a human being. All right. So when we look at it like that, then relationships take on a slightly bigger meaning. Because now we look at it and we say, okay, so when I have a challenge, this challenge is not here to break me, to make me feel small, to make me feel unheard or unseen. This challenge is actually here to help me grow. That means it's here to help me deepen my communication, for me to open my heart even more, for me to start thinking a little bit differently, for me to be a better listener. So it's there that whenever there's a challenge, there's a greater purpose behind the challenge. It's there to help you grow into the next level of who you can be, right? So relationships provide for us the platform for our highest growth. So the real reason that a lot of relationships get stuck is that it's usually never the surface level issues, right? Like the chores, oh, you didn't take the trash out and you cooked the food, but you dirtied the kitchen. It's not about the sex, too little, too much, or parenting or any of those things. Those things the minor challenges that you can discuss and overcome. But when we're having issues around these kind of topics, the conflict is usually something that is underlying that, and it stems from our unhealed inner wounds. And these wounds can come all the way back to our childhood. And we don't even realize it, right? Because as children, the first 7 years of your life, you are like a sponge. You just take in everything from your environment. And it makes sense because in the first 7 years of our life, we are learning at such a rapid rate. You've got to learn how to crawl and then walk and then talk, and you're learning language, you're learning people, you're learning colors and names, and you're learning so much in those first 7 years. But the mind is in what we call an alpha state. So it's a state that it's easy to get hypnotized, in other words, when you're in the state, right? So you can be influenced very, very easily in this time. So parents back in the day did not understand this. And if you have kids now that are in the first 7 years, this is something you need to become super aware of, because whatever's going on in your relationship. So we're talking about your parents' relationship now when you were in the first 7 years. Whatever was going on there, the challenges they had, the problems, the fights, the anxiety, the discontent, whatever was going on there, whether they had those arguments in front of you or not, you absorbed the energy of that. And this is something we don't quite understand, but if I wasn't there, how could it have affected me? So, what happened was there was a study that was done where they tested the cortisol levels in the urine of children. So, cortisol is the stress hormone. So, they looked at parents who would have an argument. The kids are at school, they're having the argument at home, but those kids are coming back into this home and they're sensing that this discontent, the anxiety, the conflict that was here. And when they test the urine of these children, the cortisol levels were elevated every single time. So you can see from that our relationships are so crucially important. It's not just about us, it's about those in our presence as well. All right. So, whatever was going on with your parents back then, we have taken in a lot of that. And if we were unaware of it, then we haven't healed it. And then we've all had relationships before our current partners. And there again, this is how the world is today, right? Most people have four, five, six, seven relationships in their lifetime. So you may have had a few relationships before you meet someone and you think, this is the person I want to spend my life with. So when we look at those past relationships, have you actually done the healing work before coming into this relationship? Because if there's issues going on here, a lot of it could be coming from unresolved things from past relationships. So whether it's with your parents, whether it was with, a close friend that you had, or whether it was from past relationships, if there's unhealed wounds and we're not dealing with that, then it comes across as, oh, we're fighting over the chores. We're fighting over someone used the car and didn't fill petrol. We think we're fighting over those things, but underneath it, these wounds are actually fighting for your attention. All right. We bring past pain, we bring the trauma, and remember what happens to a child that's 5 years old. As an adult, we may think, oh, that's not a big deal. But to that 5 year old child, it was huge. I'll give you an example. There was a client, without mentioning any names, there was a client once that every time she got into a relationship, and it was about 3 months in when the relationship was starting to get a little bit serious, she would break up with the person. And she couldn't understand why she was doing this. Sometimes there wouldn't even be any conflict, and she would just end the relationship. And she went from one to the next, doing the same thing. So she came in to say, I don't know why I'm doing this. I need to figure this out. So I took her on a regression, and it went back to when she was 2 years old. And what had happened then was her parents were taking her older brother to his school concert. And because she was only 2 years old, firstly, she wasn't allowed to go. And they didn't want to take a little kid to the concert, which was at night. So they dropped her off with her grandparents. Now, the grandparents were really excited to have her. The parents were really comfortable because the child is safe, right? But as a 2 year old, she did not understand that. And to the 2 year old, she was abandoned by her parents. She was terrified that she was never going to see them again. So she just simply felt that she was abandoned. And what happened then was, as an adult, she had this thought process that I will abandon you before you abandon me. So that is why she was doing that. So when we do the healing work on that level, her next relationship, guess what? Past the 3 month mark, she didn't dump him. Past 6 months, past a year, they are still in a relationship, and it's over 7 years now. So you can see that sometimes we think, oh, that was not a big deal because, hey, she was safe. She was with the grandparents, no big deal. But to the 2 year old, it was a huge deal. So this is when I talk about the childhood trauma, we may feel, oh no, I had a great childhood, but there may be stuff there that we don't realize has caused a thinking pattern that could be affecting your current relationship. And the biggest reason relationships get stuck is because of masculine and feminine imbalances, which create a lot of power struggles and tension, right? So, what does this mean when I say masculine and feminine energies? Now, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, we all have both masculine and feminine energies. So, our masculine side is the part of us, both men and women, where we take the lead, we're able to make decisions, we're able to strategize, think logically, take action. We're the giver, we're the provider, we're the protector, all of that. So, both men and women do that, right? The feminine side of us, which unfortunately over centuries has been undermined, diminished, is the part of us that carries inner wisdom. It's the creative part of us. It is the part of us that is open to receiving, that can be playful, that can be sensual, but it's really, really powerful because she creates life, right? So if you want a truly epic relationship, you need to be in touch with both the masculine and feminine side of yourself. So, what has happened in the world today is most women are in their masculine energy because whether you're in a job and or you have your own business, you find that you are making decisions all day, every day, and you are taking the lead and you are setting goals and you're striving and you're achieving and you're acting and you're doing all of these things, right? Because that is what is called for in the work world. Unfortunately, when we bring that energy into our relationships, and if you have a man who's in his masculine and a woman who's in her masculine, it's like two positive ends of a magnet. Try bringing that together and it repels. Okay. So it's going to push apart, it's not going to pull together. So, in the world today, we also see a lot of wounded energy. So, the wounded masculine can be excessive, which means in a person that is very controlling, very aggressive, they can become abusive. And then we get the wounded masculine who is shut down. So they cannot take the lead, they cannot make decisions, they're not making enough money. They feel that they can't really open up and talk about how they feel, where they're at, what's going on in their lives. And I think the unfortunate thing that we see in the world today is so often I've heard fathers giving this advice to sons when they're getting married, and they say, always just agree with your wife. Whatever she says, just say, yes, dear. Just agree. And that way you won't have any arguments. And that is such horrible advice to pass on because you are saying, stay in your wounded masculine energy. All right. Then we also have wounded feminine energy. So when it is in the wounded state, it is a sense of neediness, insecurity. I need validation. I need someone to take care of me, to support me. Um, and on the excessive side, it is the manipulator, the diva, the one that is, I want my way all of the time, right? So she's got these big requirements of the other person and she wants to push someone. Come on, you've got to man up. All right. We've heard this, we've seen this in relationships. So when you have wounded, masculine or feminine, you're always going to have relationships that are chaotic. So there's the emotional chaos. There's psychologically, you feel that you're at loggerheads with each other all the time. So when we decide, okay, I can see where I have excessive or wounded energy, whether it's masculine or feminine, and I'm going to do the work to heal that, to come into a place where I am more in my balanced masculine and my balanced feminine. I'm going to just differentiate between balanced and harmonized. When I say balanced, I mean within yourself. So you're going to have a balanced masculine plus a balanced feminine, but the masculine and feminine do not have to be 50-50. Okay. So in women, ideally, we should have slightly dominant feminine energy and with men, we should have slightly dominant masculine. So you have both masculine and feminine, but the one is slightly dominant. And I'm going to tell you a little later why that is, right? So when we do this, when we do the healing work on those masculine and feminine energies, you come into a place of wholeness. Now you feel inside of you, you feel I'm whole, I'm complete. I don't need someone else to complete me because I am complete, right? I'm not looking for someone to validate me because I can validate myself. I'm not looking for someone to appreciate me or approve of me because I'm doing that for me. So you hold yourself to a higher standard. It's that I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I'm not going to settle for anything less in a relationship. Okay. So when we're in that space, now we can create divine union, sacred partnerships. Okay. And that's a very different kind of relationship, which I will talk about. So, what most couples try to do, and it doesn't work, firstly, is we try to blame each other. It's your fault. It's your fault if you can change. So, this is why I feel, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but this is why I feel couples therapy does not work. When you go in and the one partner is saying, this is all the things she does wrong, and she's saying, these are the things he does wrong. So you're saying to the therapist, fix him and I'll be happy. And he's saying to the therapist, fix her and I'll be happy. And you see, so that is not taking responsibility for our share of whatever the issue is going on. The other thing that I see often is avoiding the conflict and walking on eggshells. So if I say this, my partner's going to get upset. If I say this, they're going to get really angry. So let me not talk about these issues because it's just going to blow up. So instead of that, we avoid the conflict. We don't talk about it. When something upsets us, we're upset for a while, but after a few days, we settle down emotionally, we calmer, and then we just go back to the way things were. But what happens when we do that is every time that issue comes up, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the last time. And it's going to keep escalating until you get to a point where you say, I can't live with you anymore, right? I can't handle this anymore. It's too much. Um, and the other one is suppressing your needs to keep the peace. So there may be something that you really, really want. And unfortunately, I've seen this in so many couples where one person wants to do something, whether it's with their career, their businesses, or whether it is studying further, and they feel that I can't do this yet because I've got to let my partner have that first. When they have that, or when the kids grow up, when the kids are out of university, then I will look at the things that I need, right? So when we suppress our needs over time, it leads to resentment. So each time you want something and you say no to yourself, over time you're going to resent yourself and you're going to resent your partner as well. And then it is repeating old patterns, hoping for change. If every time there's conflict, you go running out the door, or your partner is the one that's the anxious type, they so we need to sort this out. We need to talk about this. We can't go to bed until we resolve this conflict. And the other one just wants to go to sleep, right? Or they want to just go for a drive somewhere. So when we do that, and every time, so think about it, right? How do you fight? So every time you have an issue in your relationship, do you handle it in exactly the same way? Then that's a pattern. And each time that you do it, you're hoping that this time it's going to be different. I've seen this where one partner cheats and the other one decides, okay, I'm going to forgive you for this, and we're going to put this behind us, and we're going to start again, and we're going to have this happy, healthy relationship, the one that we dreamt of on our wedding day. And then the one that cheated before does it a second time. And then they do it the third time. And each time you're having the same conversation. You scream and shout and you're so upset and you're so hurt by this and things, but then you decide to forgive them and then you say, let's start over and let's do it right this time. But nothing's really changing, right? When we want genuine change, we have to hit the pause button and we have to say, okay, I can identify the pattern of behavior. If we continue this pattern, it's going to happen again and again and again. So, how do we change the pattern? We've got to learn a new way to communicate. We've got to learn some tools to resolve conflict. We've got to have some boundaries in place. We've got to have if this happens, then there is a certain outcome. We've got to agree on those things together. And that's how we break patterns, right? Whenever you're in a relationship and you feel it's not quite what I want, or it's not quite at the level I want it to be, then you either have to do something about it, option one, or you've got to leave, option two. There is no third option where I stay and I continue to complain because that changes nothing, right? That is a downward spiral where you're going to just complain more and more. Eventually, your circle of friends is going to get smaller and smaller because they don't want to listen to these complaints, and there's no action in terms of changing something. All right. If nothing changes inside, nothing changes on the outside. So when I look at relationships, I say, don't work on your relationship. The relationship is the third entity. You have person one, person two. These are the two people that make up this relationship. If the two people take the stance of, I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be and show up in this relationship 100%, and the other partner makes the same commitment. Now you've got two people that are working on themselves, that are healing their past, that are feeling whole, they're complete, they love themselves, they love life, they know what they bring, they're confident about that, they're feeling great, and then they come together. Can you imagine the kind of relationships we can create when both people are healed and whole? So, a conscious relationship is one where we make decisions upfront, we talk about things. So, we move from reaction to reflection. So, whenever there's an issue that comes up, instead of immediately reacting to it, we take a pause, we take a breath. And that's all it takes sometimes, a one long breath. And then we look at this, and there's one question I'm going to give you now that will change everything if you remember to ask it, right? And the question is, instead of, why is this happening to me? And why are you doing this to me? Stop and go within, reflect, and ask yourself, how is this happening for me? Because if you remember when we started, I said the true purpose of relationships is self-actualization. It's you stepping into your potential, right? So when there's a conflict and you ask, how is this happening for me? And you pause, you're not reacting, then you'll start seeing, oh, I need to listen. Oh, I need to set boundaries. I didn't say that this was not okay. Oh, I said no before and then I gave in afterwards. So we start seeing ourselves, we start going within and we see, so this is here to serve me. It's here to teach me something. There's a lesson here for me. All right. There'll be a lot less fights if we take the pause and we do that. In conscious relationships, there's no power struggles because each person knows their own power. They are whole, they're complete, so they don't need to fight for power from another person. So now we're moving into powerful communication. And this kind of communication only comes when we decide to open our hearts. And how many people can say, I have a completely open heart? So every single time you were hurt in your life, and if you're a human being, you've been hurt many, many times, right? So every time someone said something to hurt us, they did something to hurt us, something happened, something was taken away, you lost something, and you felt the hurt. What we automatically do is we close our hearts, we shut down here because we want to protect ourselves. How often have you been really hurt and you say, I never, ever, ever want to feel that way again? So if that's what you say, you shut down your heart. That's the only way you're never, ever going to feel that again. All right. But in a conscious relationship, we realize that when I'm hurt, it's okay for me to say, right now, I'm sad. Right now, what I'm feeling is anger. Right now, I feel like I'm not seen, I'm not heard. And when we can sit with that and state what it is without a screaming match, we can say, this is it. This is what I feel right now. This is you being vulnerable. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be vulnerable, right? Especially with men, I noticed this because men, they grew up being told, you've got to man up, don't be a sissy, boys don't cry. They've been told all of these things over and over and over again until the majority of them as adults believe that, right? But in conscious relationships, we give each other permission to be vulnerable, to come in and say, this is what I'm feeling right now. When that happened, or when you said that, this is what I felt. When we're able to do that, and beforehand we have conversations about how we're going to have conscious communication, right? We don't just spring it on our partner. We actually say, hey, there's something I'd like to talk about. Can we do it after dinner tonight? So when you do that, you're setting it up for open communication, and you're not just, your partner's about leaving to a big meeting and you say, we've got to talk, we've got to have this discussion now. It's very different communication, right? We move from codependence to co-creation. And I love this concept so much because we consciously creating. That means that when two people come together, and you can do it at any time, you could be you're in a new relationship, or you're 5 years in, or 10 years in, or 50 years in, it doesn't matter. You can hit the restart button at any time. And you say, this is where we are right now. And how do we consciously create our relationship? What is the vision that you have for your most ideal relationship? And then you share, this is my vision for the most ideal relationship. And then you look at the two and you see how you can bring that together. How can we negotiate certain things that are different? Maybe one needs to make a sacrifice here, another one needs to make a sacrifice there. But we come together and we create this picture, this vision that is ours. And then as you go through life, every decision you make, every action is either taking you towards the vision or away from it. And that's how we assess. And I say to any couple, the one thing that you must do is have a weekly date night. No kids, one night a week, have a date night. Get the babysitter, get the grandparents or whoever in, and have that one night a week. And in that time, you're not going to talk about work. You're not going to talk about the renovations that need to get done at home, or something's broken that needs to be fixed. You're not going to talk about that. You're going to talk about yourselves, each other, your relationship. How did we do this week? Are we moving in the right direction? Are we going towards our vision? Is there something you want to bring up that maybe in the week you didn't have a chance to talk about? And this really deepens connection in relationships, right? And again, I'm saying harmonized masculine and feminine energies. And the reason I say that women need to have a slightly dominant feminine and men a slightly dominant masculine is because that creates polarity or attraction. It's like the positive and the negative of a magnet. It's not pushing apart, it's pulling together. It creates this you're the one, right? So it's pulling the two of you together. That's what the polarity is. Um, and we're moving, of course, out of fear-based love. Fear is, I've got to be here because I made the commitment. We spent all these years together. I can't leave now. What about the kids? Financially, it doesn't make sense for us to split up. All of those things are fear-based love. But a soul-aligned partnership is where each person is living their own life purpose to the fullest, and you supporting each other on that journey. It's not the same purpose, it's different purpose, right? He's serving his purpose in the world, she is serving her purpose in the world, and each one supports the other on their journey. In soul aligned partnerships, the communication is very open because our hearts are open. We understand that with an open heart, we can get hurt, but we trust that our partner's not here for that purpose, that our partner is here to provide the safety. to provide the support, right? And we come together in that trust and that understanding. So the three pillars of conscious relations is first, it's the inner healing. So the inner healing helps you to release all the pain from the past. And this is so crucial because the transformations that I've seen in people when they do this work, and yes, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, it's going to be fun all the way. It's not, right? Sometimes we're going to have to face some of the pain of things that happened in our past. But guess what? For the tiny bit of time that it takes you to sit there and face this, if you have the right tools, you can shift an emotion in 90 seconds. That's how fast it can happen, right? But when you choose to sit there and feel this and take the lesson and understand it and forgive who you need to forgive and release the pain of it, on the other side of it is freedom. On the other side of it is your potential that's waiting for you. The more of this that we release, the more we open ourselves up, not just to unconditional love, but also we open ourselves up to the deeper communication, the purpose, the prosperity, abundance in the world. We open ourselves up to all of these things when we choose to do the inner healing work and open up our hearts. I've had people come to me because they got out of a bad relationship and they don't want to get into the next one without actually doing the healing work. And while they do the healing work and they start releasing and forgiving and transforming themselves, then suddenly they got a promotion or their business starts doing better. And like, is it connected? Of course it's connected, okay? Because it's all energy. When you raise your energy in one level, it impacts every single area of your life. You'll find the people in your life will start saying, hey, what's different about you? You're looking more radiant, you're looking happier. What's different? And it's because you're releasing all the stuff that is not you. It's not so much that I've got to change and I've got to become something and somebody else, but it is I've got to let go of everything that is not me so that who I am, the light of me, the potential that is here within me that I was born with begins to shine, right? So the healing is the first step. The second step is to integrate that divine masculine and the divine feminine energies. That is so beautiful because when you start to do this work, um, you start tapping into your inner power. You, I found people where someone was in his wounded masculine big time. And when he did this work and he started balancing his masculine energy, he would show up in meetings and then he says, I never used to speak up in meetings. And now all of a sudden I'm giving my opinions and I'm asking questions and I'm saying, why can't we take it in this direction? And he comes out of it and he says, what happened? I've never done that before. And it's because he's healed his masculine energy, right? So the changes will take place on the outside because of the changes you made on the inside. And then the third pillar is aligned action. So aligned action means let's go learn because honestly, nobody ever taught us how to consciously create epic relationships. We were never taught that. It's something I firmly believe should be taught in schools and universities. Um, we come into a world where relationships take up so much of our time and our emotional state is dependent on those relationships, right? Our standard of life is dependent on those relationships. And yet we are not taught how to consciously create relationships that are meaningful, that are deep, that where there's mutual respect, there's mutual love, there's mutual care and support. We don't know how to consciously create those. So what happens is we meet someone and we feel this great, great attraction to them and we fall in love. And in that state, we go, oh, this is my person and we're going to live happily ever after, right? That is the fairy tale that actually in real life does not exist. Because relationships do take work. relationships do take commitment. Wonder why the fairy tales always end and then they got married and lived happily ever after. They don't tell you what happened after when there were bond payments to make and there were bills to be paid on time and the kids came along and then it was like waking up at 2 a.m. And then the kids going to school and the dropping off and the picking up and then the cooking and the cleaning of the house. They don't tell us in the fairy tales what happens when we've got to do all of those things and balance work at the same time, right? So we need to take the time now at whatever point we are. I always say the best time to do this is before you get into a relationship, and the next best time is today. So we learn the tools to communicate on a deeper level. When we understand how to communicate, we first need to understand ourselves. We need to understand how we love, how we fight, what our values are, how we show up. When we understand that, then we open up to understanding those things about our partner. It's not about controlling them, it's not about changing them, it's about understanding who they are. And when we do that and we learn to trust, we learn to fight in a way that it's a win-win, not one wins and one loses, because in that scenario, the relationship always loses, right? So when we learn the tools, we learn how to go about doing this. Imagine if you got into your job, whatever job you're in at the moment, and you just finished matric and you thought, hey, you know what? I think I want to be a doctor. And then you just went and found a space, you opened up the rooms and you got yourself a receptionist and you put a sign up and you said, okay, fine, I'm a doctor. Who's sick? Come, let me sort you out. We can't do that, right? So we spend years and years and years at university learning how to do what we do today. We've learned from the ground up. Even when you start work, you start at the bottom and you work and you learn and you gain experience and you study some more and you get more experience and then you end up where you are today. So why then do we think in relationships? We're supposed to know that. He should know that, shouldn't he? Right? So when it comes to relationships, if we truly want that genuine connection and the genuine happiness that lasts a lifetime, it is possible for every single one of us. But we need to go learn the tools to create such a relationship. So I'm going to give you some homework. I bet when you came here, you didn't realize you were going to get homework, right? So your homework is I want you to take one thing that you heard on this webinar tonight, just one thing, anything, and apply it for the next week. Anything that we do consistently will create changes. So just try it for a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long. Try the one thing over and over and over again and see what impact that has on your relationship. All right? And for any of you that want to go deeper with the work with me, I have a program called Consciously Creating Epic Relationships. And if you want to know more about that, I'm not going to cover it in today's session. But if you do want to know more about it, I offer a free assessment that will show you if you have excessive, wounded, or balanced masculine and feminine energies. So when you can look at that, you will understand yourself on a much deeper level, right? You'll see where the healing needs to take place. So you can drop me an email and just say you want to take the free assessment. And it's just 14 questions. You're just going to answer A, B, or C. And you send it back to me, and then we'll set up a 30-minute Zoom meeting where I'll give you feedback on the assessment, and then I can give you an overview of the program if that's something you'd like to do. And just, from a few people, there's literally hundreds of these, but just from a few people who have done the program. And you can see, for years I've been on a roller coaster trying to find happiness externally. And this course has taught me that happiness is an inside job. It allows you to dig deep, to discover yourself and what makes you the individual that you are meant to be. The next one says, there are highs and low moments because, like I said, it is work. You will sit with the pain for a short time so that you experience freedom for the rest of your life, right? So there are high and low moments. Not to forget the reality checks when I was dazed by my uniformity of my old life. Know that when you join CCER, which is Consciously Creating Epic Relationships, you are not alone. It's the best investment that I've ever made in myself. And the other one says the CCER course was a phenomenal experience. There were so many things that I learned about myself, from my true potential, unleashing my creativity, and that self-love is so important to break emotional barriers. My family and friends were able to see my transformation and the different versions of myself, one being more extraordinary than the previous. So there's just a whole lot of people that can't even believe that life can be so free, so happy, so limitless when we release all the stuff that is not. So the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships. This is Esther Perel, who's one of the world's leading relationship coaches. Very much everybody for being here with me tonight and spending your time here. If you would like to take the free assessment, the email address is there, info@nextlevelup.co.za. Also, I have both a Facebook group and YouTube channel with the same name, The Love Evolution. And I really put a lot of free content out there on both those channels. So if you want to go deeper into understanding relationships and what you can do to create that epic relationship for yourself, then go and join those channels as well. I'm going to stop the recording here and then we can open up for questions.